Following Jo and thinking about pronouns, I'm joined by my friend Mal, and she's going to tell you why it's not Mal when you see her name and on her screen in a second. Who I've known for years through Women Ed, and she's written some brilliant blogs recently about what's in a name and the importance of using people and children's names within a school context correctly. So Mal, welcome.
Hello.
Glad to see you. Thank you for joining us from Valencia. I'm going to disappear and let you present, Mal, and I'll come and join you in 10 minutes' time for the questions.
Okay, no problem. It's there. This is like magic. It comes up like magic. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what's in a name. And does this? Oh, yes. Right. Okay, so Shakespeare famously said, "What's in a name?" And I suppose my whole presentation is about, well, actually a lot. There's a lot in a name. This is me, 1976, and with my brother. I'm 3 years old there, and it's scary how little I've changed. I still wear little dresses like that, and boots and short hair and things like that. But if I'm thinking about the 1970s, growing up in East London, and what influenced me, sorry, you can't see that. What influenced me are things that have often been said to me when I was growing up. Oh, you're not planning on going to university, are you? Oh, girls can't throw. Truth is, I couldn't throw. It's not the whole, you can't tar everybody by my brush. Where are you really from? And something that happened very early on is them giving me, and I say them, being given an English name. So when I was probably 2 or 3 years old, probably younger than 3. My childminder couldn't say my name, and so called me Mandy. What's the upshot of all this is that I never really felt I belonged, and I never associated it with my name until recently. There was a kind of fear and an embarrassment of my heritage. So the result of that is that I suppressed it. I suppressed where I'm from. I suppressed a whole huge part of my background. If we're looking at my family background and names, my granddad, who was from India, his name was Rajian, and I think it was Naidu, Rajian Naidu. My dad, who was born in Malaysia, his name was Krishna Rajian. But when he came to Britain, the British added the Samy for some reason. And if you can see, he married my mother, Kamachi, and her name became Kamachi Krishnasamy. So, and you can see with my name, what was supposed to happen was my name was supposed to be Malarvilie Krishnasamy, and my dad wanted my granddad's name in there. But because of a misunderstanding, it became my surname, but I've never really used it. When I got married a few months ago, my other half, I didn't take his name because I still can't compute that. Really, I don't understand the idea of, I have seen nothing wrong with other people doing it, but for me, I'm Malarvilie Krishnasamy, and the idea of becoming Mal McCullough sounded like I was an Irish builder or something. It's not me. And so he took my middle name, or my technical surname. And if you look at my children, that's my oldest son's name, they're half Irish. So you've got Tig, a very Irish name, Rajian McCullough. So when I see my kids' names, I feel a sense of pride because you can see their whole heritage there. Tig is a very Irish name. Rajian is a very ancient Indian name. And of course, you've got McCullough, their surname. It wouldn't be right for them to have Krishnasamy as a surname because that would mean a bit like McDonald, son of Krishnasamy, which they're not. If we're looking at my name is Malarvilie, and that's how you say it properly. English for anglicised, I suppose it's Malarvilie, and that's what I say. It's easier for me to say because Malarvilie, how you say it properly, there are letters in there that I never use, but it's my name. And what you see on screen is Tamil, and it's just half my name, Malar, which is a very common name. You may think it's unusual, but there are around 200 million people who are within the Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam communities in India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, huge diaspora across the world. And it's the equivalent of Sharon and Tracy. It's quite a very common name, though you wouldn't hear it. If we're looking at nicknames, you can see that I've had a range of nicknames: Mandy, Malibu, Milli Vanilli. My personal favourite is Malarvilie Krishnasamy. My parents called me Mullard. They rarely called me Malarvilie, because by the time they said Villy, I was already there. But since sixth form, I was Mal, and had been for 30 years. And what I find interesting is that on forms, people, you see on forms, what's your name? What do you prefer to be called? Not many people actually ask you. I've never had anyone actually ask me. And before I get onto that, there were times when there was a school I started in many years ago, about 15 years ago, and there was a strong Tamil community there, and it was an area with Tamil, so I knew I was going to be speaking to Tamil parents, and I thought, no, when I started this school, I'm going to be Malarvilie. That lasted 1 hour. Within the hour, everyone was calling me Mal, even though I hadn't given anybody permission. So I have tried in the past to be known as Malarvilie, but it didn't work. Now, there are celebrities who've famously reclaimed their names, like Thandwi Newton. When she first became an actress, there was a film being made, and the director asked if he could use her real name as the character's name, and she was really flattered. But when the film came out, to distinguish her from the actual character, they dropped the W without asking her at all, and for 30 odd years it stuck, and she's now reclaiming back her name. You've also got Tanya Fear, whose real name is Tanya Radzwa. Hopefully I said that correctly. And that means we've been comforted. And what I love is that she was named that because she was born the year her grandfather died. And so her name has a real meaning. And to just turn it into Tanya, it doesn't do it justice, really. You've also got Kwame Armour. His given name was Ian Roberts, but after watching Roots in the 70s and reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, he changed his name from Malcolm Little. He traced his family back to through slavery to Ghana, and he didn't want to be carry the name of someone who once owned the family. So it stems back to slavery. So if you look at many countries, if you wonder why there's many Patels in India, it's because the British changed it. If you look at originally when we were thinking about names for our children, my husband wanted Tig because he thought, and my husband's name's Timothy, he thought Tig was Timothy. It was the same name, just in English. The truth is, anyone called Tig, their name was changed to Timothy because the English couldn't deal with it. When I moved from London to Bournemouth, I was asked, what's your Christian name, which I found disconcerting. And as Hakim Adi said, who bizarrely was my history teacher when I was doing A-level, he said names were taken away to dehumanize people. So it kind of rises the hackles for me. What's changed for me in the last month is that I've moved to Spain. And at passport control, the Spanish guy at passport control said, Malarvilie Krishnasamy. and I almost passed out. I was in shock. I went, yeah, that was perfect. The Spanish are used to long names. I get asked, where are you from, often because of all the forms we have to fill in to become residents and so on. And there's no question about where I'm from. I'm from London. They don't really do nicknames here. And also, Mao in Spanish is bad or evil. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll just call myself my full name. As a teacher, I ensured that children knew exactly how to say my name. So on the board, I'd write Krishnasamy and put little slashes. I ensured that I knew how to say their names. I ensured that I adapted and I insisted, because often young people are polite. There are cultures where people are very polite, and that's where I don't agree with Roosevelt when it comes to names. It is a sign of subservience if you say, oh, call me whatever. But as a teacher, I insisted. So in Spain, when people call me Malarvilie, in a funny way, I feel much more whole and less apologetic for my own heritage. So in answer to Shakespeare, what's in a name? Quite a lot, actually. Thank you. I'll bring it back to questions now.
Fabulous, Malarvilie, and I need to practice calling you Malarvilie because I've known you as Malarvilie. I've known you as Mal for so long, so
I know.
I've watched you claiming it, and I always used to get your N and your S the wrong way round in your last name, putting you on Eventbrite. And I was so embarrassed when I published your blog. I put 2 L's in your long version.
Do you know the amount of people that do 2 L's? I mean, that's why at school kids used to call me Milli Vanilli because they were out at the time.
But yeah, just captured there is just the importance of our names as that frame for identity. Just as Joe talked about the importance of pronouns, I mean, all of these things are an important part of our story, aren't they? And how we show up and how we're seen.
Absolutely. And I think for me, what's really come across having moved to Spain is the relief of not having microaggressions, the relief of saying, I'm from London, and there not being any further questions or a look that goes, what? And the only person that questioned my name was an English person in this country. Everyone else was like, can you repeat that, so that they could get my name right? And where I am in Valencia, people from all over the world, Argentinians, Venezuelans, you name it. And it was only an English person that said to me, what, is there a shorter version? And I was like, no, that's my name.
It is interesting. There's a comment in the chat about why names are so important, not just for race and cultural representation, but also for gender representation. When someone has a birth name or a ghost name and they're using a new name, and how important it is for us to establish what name we want to be known by. You talked about permission, which links back to Nadine and Ethan's presentation about, like, you don't have permission to touch my hair, you don't have permission to touch my skin. And like, why is it that we think we have permission to change people's names and to shorten them and to abridge them?
I don't know, it's arrogance. I think my other half and I were talking about it even yesterday, saying there's that sense of I need to acquiesce to other people's needs, that actually other people should acquiesce to mine. It's my name. So why am I apologizing for my name? No, that's my name. So it's up to you to learn how to say it, not up to me to make it easy for you.
Absolutely, we over accommodate, and people make assumptions that it's okay. And do you mean I've got a mild speech impediment? I really struggle with my R's depending on where they are in the order of the word. And I know sometimes when someone says their name to me and I say it back, I mispronounce it, but it's not conscious, it's not intentional. I usually have to sound like I can't say my R's. But I've been in lots of spaces where someone's given their birth name, and it like, for example, we know that Sri Lankan names have lots and lots of syllables in them. And I say it back and I get it wrong, and then they give me the anglicized version. I'm like, no, I don't want to misname you. Get me to practice saying your name.
Do you
mean, am I handling that right now for people?
Absolutely, yes, that's what I'd say to kids. They'd say, "Oh, miss, just call me John," and I'm like, "Is that your real name?" And they're like, "No, it's whatever." And I was like, "Well, teach me how to say it." because your name, I mean, that's the thing. Their name matters, therefore they matter.
Absolutely. And I was just Googling, I can't remember the name of the black female actress who's in Orange is the New Black. And there was a brilliant chat show interview with her where she says, like, if you can all say Tchaikovsky, you can say my name.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
why is it that we can articulate?
Rachmaninoff.
Yeah, exactly. We pick and choose which long words we can pronounce,
Exactly.
which we care to use. So there's something there about us checking our privilege and challenging ourselves, but also challenging each other. Because it must be really wearing for you constantly have to repeat your long version of your name when actually colleagues say, do you mean can we use people's correct names?
Yeah. I think and that's what I'm feeling here. Is the first time I've ever felt a real sense of belonging and acceptance that I never had in England. You know, and I'm 49. You know, and I've only moved here in 1 month, and that sense of relief I can't express. I mean, even I can't remember where we were. Somebody just, do you know what it was? I was doing some event, some CPD thing, and Nicola Brooks from the Southwest Teaching Alliance, she introduced me as Malarvilie Krishnasamy, and that swell of pride, I can't explain it. I can't explain it because I don't think I'd ever been introduced like that before.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the threads we're hearing about all the talks around representation today is this idea of bringing our whole selves and being seen as a whole person with a whole story, and it not being picked and chosen for us. And there's a comment in the chat about a parent whose child goes to nursery, and the nursery staff have given the child an abridged version of her name, and that's not the name the parents gave her. So there's something here about power as well, isn't there? Emma's also put in, it's Uzo Aduba, who was talking about her name. Thank you very much, Emma. I was trying to Google it, but I didn't want to multitask at the same time. But we are going to wrap up there because I want people to have a cup of tea and a break. But Malarvilie, thank you very much. Malarvilie.
I'm going to
keep practicing it until I get it right. Thank you very much.
Just think Milli Vanilli and you'll get there.
Not the Milli Vanilli, because that's thank you so much for joining us.
All right, great to
a really
speak to you.
important topic, and I'll see you soon.
Right.
Take care.
Okay, cheers. Bye.
Cheers, dear. Bye.